With the UN Climate Summit having overrun, there have been appeals from the host country Britain for one last push to secure a meaningful agreement limiting climate change. The conference president, Alok Sharma, called for a final injection of can-do spirit. A court in Myanmar has sentenced an American journalist to 11 years in jail on charges brought by the military junta. Danny Fenster was convicted of endangering the reputation of the armed forces. The European Union says it's making progress in tackling the migrant crisis on the border between Belarus and Poland. Poland has sent 15,000 troops to patrol the barrier separating the two nations. Scientists in the US say they're a step closer to reversing paralysis in humans after they successfully managed to get paralyzed mice to walk again. It happened 4 weeks after being injected with a gel that promotes nerve regeneration.
President Joe Biden and Chinese leader Xi Jinping will meet virtually on Monday. It'll be their third meeting since Biden took office in January. One person familiar with the negotiations says climate, trade, and nuclear non-proliferation are among the issues that could be discussed. The Chinese embassy in Washington has not been available for comment, and the White House is yet to announce an official agenda for the meeting. An appeals court in Washington, D.C. has agreed to hear former President Trump's request to block the release of his records related to January 6th. That means the handover of his documents, which was scheduled for today, will be delayed. A lower court ruled earlier this week they should be handed over to the Congressional Committee investigating the riot at the Capitol. The new appeals ruling stays that, at least temporarily. Toshiba is planning to split into three by March 2024. The announcement comes in response to shareholder pressure for a more focused structure. The company said one of the units will focus on infrastructure and another on electronic devices such as power semiconductors. The third will retain the Toshiba name and manage the company's stake in a flash memory company and other assets. Markets in Asia ended in the green, with European shares also tracking higher. In the U.S., investors will be watching this morning's data on job openings.
We start in Glasgow, where the COP26 UN Climate Conference is set to end on Friday. The meeting's president has put forth a new draft of the proposed decisions.
I do believe that these texts are the product of a transparent, inclusive, and party-driven process. And in my view, they do bring us another step closer towards the comprehensive, ambitious, and balanced set of outcomes. The Russian Federation.
The document reaffirms the need to speed up action this decade to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius from pre-industrial levels. It requests that countries review and strengthen their targets to reduce greenhouse gas emissions toward 2030. It says this should be done by the end of next year. The draft urges developed countries to deliver on their pledge to provide $100 billion a year to help developing nations take anti-climate change measures. It says this needs to be done urgently and through to 2025. It calls on countries to quickly adopt policies to transition away from coal power to low-emission energy systems. It says the use of unabated coal power needs to be phased out rapidly. A court in military-ruled Myanmar has sentenced an American journalist to 11 years in prison for spreading false information, among other offenses. Danny Fenster was the managing editor of online English-language magazine Frontier Myanmar. On Friday, the 37-year-old was found guilty of several charges, including incitement and unlawful association with an illegal group. He was detained at Yangon International Airport in May on his way to the U.S. to visit family. His lawyer said Fenster was disappointed with the ruling, but probably won't appeal because he doesn't trust Myanmar's judiciary. The journalist could face even more prison time. 2 new charges of terrorism and sedition have been filed against him. The U.S. government has called his detention unjust, but the Myanmar government has ignored Washington's repeated calls for his release. Japan's largest opposition party is preparing to elect a new leader at the end of the month. This comes after the Constitutional Democratic Party lost a significant number of seats in the recent lower house election. Party lawmakers have accepted the resignation of leader Edano Yukio. He said he was responsible for the disappointing results. The party will choose his successor on November 30th. 4 lawmakers are contemplating a run. In addition to lawmakers, local assembly members, rank-and-file party members, and prospective candidates in national elections can also vote. The ballots are then converted into a point system. The votes of the party's 140 lawmakers have the greatest weight. If no candidate wins a majority, there's a runoff between the top two contenders. Now to the latest on the coronavirus here in Japan. The government says it'll boost the medical system to prepare for another possible wave of infections this winter. The Prime Minister outlined the plans on Friday.
We are trying to secure medical systems for worst-case scenarios and also strengthening the flow from prevention and diagnosis to early treatment. These attempts will make it possible to protect people's lives and health, even if infections spread. We will also be able to continue economic and social activities while reducing the risk of infection.
Officials say they're aiming to add more capacity to the medical system this month. It would be capable of treating up to 37,000 coronavirus patients in medical facilities. That's about 30% higher than this summer when cases peaked in Japan. The government also plans to start offering vaccine booster shots in December. People who received their second doses more than 8 months ago will be eligible. It's hoping boosters will be available at workplaces beginning next March. It's also planning to offer oral medicine for patients with mild COVID symptoms this year. It'll supply 1.6 million doses to hospitals as soon as the drugs are approved. And free PCR tests will be available by March of next year for those who can't receive vaccines for medical reasons. Japan's minister in charge of vaccinations is calling on local health authorities to prepare for a smooth rollout of third doses. Horiuchi Noriko said inoculations for elderly people should be in full swing as soon as February.
In February, more than 600,000 vaccinations a day are expected to be available for seniors. In March, the number will likely surpass 900,000, and the target age group will be expanded.
Horiuchi said the government will call on companies and universities to help out. In the past few months, the number of coronavirus infections has fallen dramatically. Tokyo has had fewer than 50 cases a day for 27 straight days. Foreign workers employed in Japan's manufacturing industry have been struggling to survive since the onset of the coronavirus pandemic. Many have been laid off and are finding it hard to make ends meet. A nonprofit initiative in central Japan has been reaching out to help those in need.
One dish that's served at this lunch counter is papa rellenas, Peruvian potato croquettes. This place was set up by a civic group in Aichi Prefecture 5 years ago to feed children from low-income families. Now it also serves takeout meals each weekend for just a few dollars. And everyone is welcome, including the local foreign community.
It's really good. I'm getting food for all my family.
The lunch counter is in a large housing complex that is home to about 1,000 foreigners. Many of them work at factories nearby. Hattori Etsuko runs the operation. She was shocked to see how the pandemic has affected people's lives.
I know of one man who lost half his income, and his wife was so stressed she couldn't breastfeed, and they couldn't afford baby formula. So I felt we had to do something.
Working with the local supermarket and other charities, Hattori's group began distributing vegetables and rice for those in need. Miyakawa Akimi is from Peru. She lost her job at a factory last year due to the pandemic. Now she works at the lunch counter. The food supplied here has helped her and her family to make it through the hard times.
Thanks to everyone in this group, we've survived. I'm very grateful. The Japanese members and the foreigners, we're all working together.
Now, once a month, the lunchboxes served here feature Peruvian foods. They've become very popular among the local foreign community.
We make no distinction where people are from. We just want to live together so we can help each other in hard times. I hope this will lead to many strong bonds between us.
Serving food with a taste of home means more than just offering a helping hand. It is nourishing deeper community connections.
Nearly 40 people have lost their lives in southern India and Sri Lanka as severe rains triggered flooding. The rain has been unusually heavy for this time of year. Torrential rain has been pounding the state of Tamil Nadu all week, killing 14. Roads and homes have been submerged. The state's capital of Chennai has been the hardest hit as several localities were inundated, forcing a near shutdown of the city. Many residents have been evacuated from low-lying areas. Schools were closed and rail and air traffic was disrupted. The rain killed 25 people in the island nation of Sri Lanka. Landslides injured 5 and affected more than 200,000. Climate experts say the amount of rain during this time of the year is unusual and attribute it to climate change, predicting more such extreme weather events in the future. Hundreds of devotees waded in a toxic river to offer prayers during a Hindu festival in India. Many are worried about the high pollution levels in the Yamuna, one of the country's most sacred rivers. Since earlier this week, toxic foam has been seen floating down the waterway that runs through New Delhi. Despite the health risks, worshippers took a holy dip to celebrate the 4-day festival.
It's very difficult to celebrate the festival. The water is extremely dirty, full of toxic chemicals.
It's very dirty, but this is our festival, so we're celebrating it in any way.
Experts say the foam is caused by the discharge of untreated industrial waste and sewage. There are 35 sewage treatment plants in the capital, but 25 do not meet required standards. 3/4 of the pollution is concentrated in a section that runs through the capital. Water pollution has been a major concern in India in addition to air pollution. Officials of states that share the river are blaming each other for the failure to tackle the problem. Some strong storms hit the U.S. southern plains, causing flooding and damage. Our meteorologist Sakamori lets us know what's ahead for the region in world weather.
Hello there. Severe weather hit Oklahoma on Wednesday. Let's go straight to some video coming out from the state. A thunderstorm brought heavy rains into parts of Oklahoma Wednesday night, causing flooded roads and damage to trees. One person told the local media that he was surprised by the power of the storm that seemingly came as quickly as it left. Firefighters had to work quickly to get a car that got stuck in the flood waters. Conditions will likely improve across the mid-portions of the U.S. thanks to this high-pressure system, but there's a possibility of thunderstorms along the eastern areas of the United States and parts of Canada. Back behind it, frigid air is coming in, so we could see the first snowfall of the season over the Great Lakes region. And currently, there's a snowfall warning in place for central Canada and a blizzard warning in place for north-central United States. More stormy conditions expected for the Pacific Northwest, so Vancouver will likely see rainfall almost every day into early next week. However, Los Angeles will see sunny weather and midsummer-like conditions during the weekend. Toronto could see in the single digits every day into Monday. New York might see the first snowflakes of the season early next week. Meanwhile, we have been talking about copious amounts of heavy